We've heard rumors that Chrissy and Rock's situation has taken a drastic turn for the worse, and new court documents have just surfaced that confirm what many feared. She's likely going to spend 8 years in prison. This sentence seems inevitable. Because of her lengthy history with the law and her ability to avoid serious consequences in the past. But her wild antics, particularly with Blueface, have finally caught up with her, which makes it even more heartbreaking. Will now grow up without either of his parents, both of whom are facing jail time. This is a tragic situation, especially since his parents' actions put him in this predicament. Let's break down the mess. In February 2022, Chrisean was arrested in Oklahoma for driving a G-Wagon that was stolen via WhatsApp and found to contain drugs. Chrisean pleaded guilty to serious charges associated with the incident. Intent to distribute and possession of a controlled substance without a tax stamp, both of which could have resulted in lengthy prison sentences. However, the theft didn't. And there. In addition to stealing Blueface's car, she also broke into his home, stole thousands of dollars, and caused extensive damage. She even left a disturbing message written in blood on the wall that read, "I love Blue." Blueface posted this terrifying information on Instagram, referring to it as fatal attraction, feelings to make things worse. Chrisean mugshot was shared by Blue's manager, Whack100, who also described the full scope of the theft and demonstrated how careless her actions had been. This was not a minor infraction, but rather a flagrant breach of Blue's trust and property. Despite everything, Chrisean was released from jail and returned to court a year later, where she was given a lighter sentence rather than a prison term. Her attorney argued that because she had no prior criminal history, jail time would be too harsh, and the judge agreed that she also needed to complete 120 days of community service. However, as we all know, Chrisean did not complete her community service, and a warrant was issued for her arrest. Rather than face the music, Chrisean fled to Oklahoma, and then California, knowing that she already had a warrant there as well. At this point, her legal issues were only as if evading the law was some kind of cock. Chrisean's social media presence didn't help her during this whole mess. She even boasted about her plans to clean up her mess and get out of her legal troubles. Fast forward to June of this year, when she showed up for Blueface's court hearing with their son, but things quickly took a turn for the worse when Chrisean Jr. was taken from her and placed in protective custody, and Chrisean herself was arrested. Totally taken by surprise in a time that seemed nearly unreal. "What's going on? Why am I being arrested?" Chrisean asked in genuine disbelief. There were several arrest warrants out for Chrisean, but she appeared to be unaware of the seriousness of her circumstances, making for a strange scene. 5 LAPD police were waiting for her when she arrived at the courthouse, and witnesses said the arrest was not an accident. Chrisean was detained, and following a thorough search, she was escorted out while officers took away her baby. What followed was a flurry of legal proceedings, beginning with a 30-day sentence in Los Angeles for a misdemeanor assault charge. People assumed she would be home by Chrisean, but as the case developed, it became evident that it was no minor matter. The charges were much more serious than anyone had initially believed. Chrisean is currently facing an 8-year prison sentence, after being found guilty of failing to putting a tax stamp on controlled substances and possessing them with intent to distribute, are both punishable by up to 4 years in prison. Her legal battles and the rulings that brought her to this point have left her fighting for her freedom, while her son is left without a stable home. The bigger picture is where things get even more complicated. When Chrisean was imprisoned, many people thought Blueface would step up and look after their son. Any hopes that Blueface would take care of Junior were crushed when he was recently sentenced to 4 years in prison. It's also important to note that Blueface has never been especially supportive of his son, publicly humiliating him by disclosing private medical information online and denying paternity before the baby was born. In addition to demonstrating little affection for the child, Blue's parents made it apparent after Chrisean was jailed that they didn't want to look after the child, or a video that appeared showed Blue's parents yelling when asked to look for Junior, demonstrating that nobody was taking charge of him, a tragic and preventable circumstance. Chrisean Rock, a person who previously had the chance for a better life, has found herself in a hazardous and awful position because of a number of terrible and preventable circumstances. The tragic truth is that this is a tale of poor decisions with unavoidable, far-reaching consequences. Her rash decisions, made in the heat of the moment or out of a misguided belief that consequences could be avoided, have not only led to her own downfall, but have also put her young son in a situation no child should have to go through. An effective reminder of the perils of avoiding responsibility is provided by the Ripple Effects Acts, especially the accountability for making deliberate, forward-thinking decisions. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that laws and regulations don't apply to you or that you can avoid the consequences of your actions, but this way of thinking is certain to lead to disaster, as Chrisean has discovered the hard way. Whether it was reckless behavior, poor judgment, or just a lack of foresight, her decisions have put her in a position where she faces years in prison, which will prevent her from providing the kind of care that she needs for her child. Deserved. A terrible hit to childhood, since her acts have an unquestionable knock-on effect. This young child must now navigate life without the stability, nurturing. Because of his uncle's heartfelt social media remembrance, Ronnie's passing has swiftly gained attention. His uncle was shocked and conveyed his profound sadness, saying that losing Ronnie was like a nightmare. His tragic death brought to light the anguish of losing a loved one, and a public plea for justice has since been made. There are rumors circulating the streets regarding Ronnie's relationship to Christian and their ongoing paternity dispute. In the paternity dispute from the previous year, Ronnie went so far as to file a lawsuit to prove that he was Christian Jr.'s biological father rather than Blueface. Ronnie wrote about the incident on social media, accusing Christian of lying and falsifying the facts. He claimed that the DNA test results did not rule him out as the father, so there was a genuine chance that Junior might be his child. At the time, many people wrote off Ronnie's claims as a publicity stunt, accusing him of trying to gain influence by attaching himself to Christian's notoriety and taking advantage of the drama for his own benefit because Chrisean was a well-known person. Ronnie maintained that his motives were based on a desire for closure rather than fame or money, and that his only objective was to accept responsibility for his child in the event that the paternity test that he was, in fact, the father. However, any association with her could elevate someone's status. The questions regarding the paternity of Ronnie. This wasn't about the public spectacle or the possible media attention that could result from being associated with Chrisean's convoluted and widely reported life. Rather, it was about accountability, making sure that if Junior were his son, he would take charge and act as a father. This need for clarity and responsibility spoke to a deeper sense of personal integrity, regardless of what the public thought about his intentions. Additionally, Ronnie raised serious concerns over Chrisean Jr.'s paternity. He asserted that Blueface, the fact that Chrisean's other partner knew that both men might have been connected with Chrisean around the time of conception, raised questions about the veracity of Junior's paternity, further complicating an already stressful and emotional situation. By insisting that the truth be revealed, Ronnie demonstrated his dedication to making sure Christian Jr. would have a clear knowledge of his biological father, regardless of whether Ronnie or Blueface was identified. It's interesting to note that Blueface has had doubts about being Junior's father. Although a DNA test in 2023 appeared to confirm his paternity, Blueface later hinted that he might not be the biological father after all. He even claimed to have secretly taken another DNA test that suggested he wasn't the one. What comes next? Added uncertainty to an already complex situation. Is that all? Junior Chrisean. The child is currently enmeshed in a maze of uncertainty, with no definitive answers regarding the identity of his father and both parents dealing with serious legal issues. It is evident that there is a great deal of dysfunction in the family dynamic, and the true victim of all of this is Junior, who has been forced into an environment that no child should have to go through. Given everything, it is unclear what kind of future Christian Jr. will have, and will Chrisean and Blueface ever step up and accept accountability for their deeds? Will the truth about Junior's paternity ever surface while we await further information? There is little doubt that there are still many more twists to come, and that this awful affair is far from done.